Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network. And today, the sun and the space gods have aligned for us to be here live. So, I'm really excited about this show, y'all. If you've missed our introduction, this is the Not Normal Fitness Podcast with my nope, it's that way, fabulous guest, Ryan Nolan. And we're talking about how to build health and wellness organically, sustainably, when you are neurodivergent and your brain doesn't think about things in quite the same way. So, in the first episode, which you can find in the sidebar, or if you go through our history, um, we talked about how to find your why. Today, we are going to talk about how to build sustainable habits, which I think is difficult for a lot of us. So,
Yes.
welcome, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that great introduction. And I'm really excited to be doing this. And it's always fun to talk about these things for me, right? Like, I really enjoy these things. I'm really passionate about how to build sustainable, healthy habits, how to build a really solid foundation. My journey has led me here, and it's been a great, fun journey. And I'm not one of those people who was always fit. It's been like a, 8-year journey from 100 pounds heavier as a chef to where I am at now. And I've learned a few things on the way that I think is pretty helpful for a lot of people and is realistic. And it's not just like, oh, just eat kale for every meal and you'll be fine. Like, never do that. you know how do we find things that are sustainable and like healthy and feel better about ourselves and like kind of build that momentum and really lead us to what I call the upward spiral. We've all heard of a downward spiral. It's really easy to go downward spiral, right? But how do we build that upward spiral where we start to feel a little bit better and we start to get some compliments and our clothes start to fit better, right? And so we're more likely to follow these new habits, more likely to get a little bit more movement in, start to get a little bit better sleep and less stressed out. And then we just keep going on that upward spiral. And that doesn't mean we only go one way. It means we go up, a little bit of setback. We go up, a little bit of setback. We go up, a little bit of setback. But at the end of like 12 months, you're way up the hill compared to where you started, as opposed to what everybody tries to do on January 1st with their habits. They're like, I'm going to change 20 things today. And 3 weeks in, they're like, I don't want to do any of those. That is ridiculous. Yeah, of course it was ridiculous to attempt 20 new habits. Now, what if you did one new habit a month for a year? At the end of 12 months, you'd have 12 healthy habits. Then you'd probably be close to where you wanted to be with that New Year's resolution. And then you do that the next year and the next year. And say you did that for like 5 years straight. And not every year was perfect, but at the end of 5 years, you've got 40 new habits that are healthier and more sustainable. That's where we want to be. That's realistic goals. That's how we tackle our health, right? I always say too that the habits that got you to where you are now didn't happen overnight. So it's unrealistic to change them overnight. It's probably 10 years, 20 years in the making of habits that led you to where you're at now. So it might be a few more longer than you hope uh, steps to get to where the habits where you want to be. So yeah.
So, let's start at the top. How do we identify the right habits?
So the first thing to do is to like get rid of some misconceptions around food and like things. And you've heard all this stuff, right? Like, get sunlight, walk every day, work out, eat right, only eat vegetables, whatever guru's telling you that like bananas are bad for you and oatmeal's good, or actually oatmeal's bad for you and raw butter is good, but you have to eat it in the sunlight at 8 a.m., like whatever weird stuff you hear, right? So identify healthy habits. That's gonna, yeah,
It,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Identifying healthy habits for you is usually going to be a bit of an individual journey. And that doesn't mean that there's not some overarching habits that'll probably be beneficial to everybody. But for the most part, some people's habits are, going to be different than other people's habits. For example, I like to eat a lot of small meals a day. That's just kind of my eating. I'm kind of more of a grazer. I'll eat a small meal here, small meal there, small meal here. Now, if I told you to eat 6 to 8 small meals a day, you may never do that. You're probably, a lot of people are the kind of people that skip breakfast, have coffee, don't eat till lunch, maybe dinner, right? And so how do we find sustainable habits for them? Usually with someone like that, I'd be like, well, what if we had a little bit of protein in the morning, like maybe yogurt or a protein shake? And then that way the rest of your day is kind of set up on the right trend. And that's kind of how we kind of identify habits. So when we talk about the basic habits, I like to talk about this health pyramid. I probably mentioned this before, and I'll probably mention it again, right? The baseline for everybody is, how's your sleep? Are you sleeping consistently 7 days a week? Not just 5 days a week around work, but 7 days a week. Is your sleep consistent? It doesn't mean you go to bed and wake up every time at the exact same time, but like for the most part, you probably get 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night. And you probably have a similar trend, maybe sleeping a little bit on the weekends, but you still try to kind of get back to bed on time, or whatever it is that works for you. Maybe you're a night owl and that works for you. It doesn't really matter when or what time you get up, as long as you're getting consistent sleep 7 days a week. And that's generally where I start with a client. Like, how's your habit around sleep? Is it poor? Cool, we'll start there, because everything else is way harder to tackle if you're not getting good sleep. And then we'll talk about the next basic habit is, are you eating consistently 7 days a week? That doesn't mean healthy, unhealthy, whatever terms you want to put on food. That means, is your diet consistent enough over a 7-day period that you can look at it objectively and make decisions about it, as opposed to having a chaos kind of diet every single day where sometimes you eat late, sometimes you eat early, on the weekends you eat whatever, maybe on Sunday you don't eat. Like, if it's erratic like that, and that's not to say that it's not okay, but it's really hard to make changes if it's erratic. And if it's more consistent 7 days a week, then we can kind of start to adjust from there. And then, what's your movement habits like? Are you getting some sort of movement in? What do you enjoy doing? Can we get out and move a few minutes more and kind of add to that habit? And then, maybe it's resistance training and lifting weights. Maybe it's going outside and playing, soccer. Maybe it's walking the dog a little bit extra longer. And, that's like kind of the baseline. And then we could talk about the nitty gritty habits. Like, do you take optimal supplements at the right time? Are you optimizing the amount of sunlight you get? Like, is your water ionized, or whatever wand thing is sold on Facebook, right? Like, maybe that matters, but it's like 10% of the equation. It's like the last 10% of the equation. So the basic habits we want to tackle are sleep habits, eating habits, movement habits. Everything else comes after those things, right? And then that stuff does matter. Like, for me, I do, extreme stuff like competitions and stuff. So I do care about that last 10%. I do try weird new things, but everything else stays really consistent. So it's easier to adjust those top habits. Now, it's a pyramid because we work our way up. So sleep habits, that's where we
Yeah,
start.
let's
Sleep
talk
habits.
about sleep.
Yeah. There's two kinds of sleeping habits. There's sleep too much, sleep too little, right? Those are generally the habits we want to work on when we're talking about sleep. There's a bunch of sleeping habits, but those are the ones we want to work on. Now, most people, especially as you have more responsibilities and you get older and you have a higher position at work and you have children and you have people that depend on you, sleep kind of is the last priority, right? Like, I know from experience, when I'm pulling a long week and I got to train in the morning and I got clients all day and I got to get my kid up for school, I'll just sleep less, right? Like, and that's fine for a day, but as I get older, I do that 2 days in a row, like, I get wrecked. And I'll tell you what, man, my hunger cravings and my stress levels and my ability to get things done just drastically all go out the window if I'm tired, you know? And that's why we tackle sleep first. So the first thing you want to do is start tracking when you go to bed and when you wake up 7 days a week, not 5. It's easy to have a routine around work and school, 7 days a week, right? And the first beginning of building a new habit isn't immediately changing things. The beginning of a new habit, of any habit, and this is true for any habit, is is having a baseline for 2 weeks so you can look at it objectively, right? Now, there's tons of apps nowadays. There's tons of software. There's tons of other things that you can do to like document any habit, even if it's like a note to yourself that's scribble that makes sense to no one else. Sleep 7.6. No other context, but you might remember. There's also writing it out in a journal. So when I build any new habit, I get a baseline, right? And if it's a client, if it's me, if it's anything, once we have a baseline, then we can decide the plan of action around that habit. So I'll give you an example. Say you work a high stress job, and when you get off of work, you're pretty like amped because you have a lot of things going on. And then you've got family responsibilities or, children responsibilities like dinner and getting the house done and maybe do some chores. And by the time you get done with all these things, you have some time for yourself for the first time in the entire day instead of going to sleep on time. Like, you in the back of your head is probably telling you, you were like, no, I'm gonna take this time for myself and read my book and do some self-care and whatever it is, and that's fine.
There's a
And those are
phrase for
important
this.
habits.
It's revenge bedtime procrastination.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of it too, right? It's like I get like 20 minutes to myself throughout the day, and that's when I probably should be asleep, right? um and if that's your habit, that's what we tackle. We find ways to give yourself self-care throughout the day. So at the end of the day, you don't feel the need to steal from yourself to reward yourself, right? And so for me, that was a big habit. So what do I do now? I try to take 20 minutes to my day where I either journal, meditate, or walk, right? And it's hard. I work like 12 hours a day and have all these responsibilities too. But by making myself a priority, it now makes my sleep a priority. And then we start this beginning of these good habits, right? Upward habits, right? And so even if it's 5 minutes a day. I saw a friend write about how they wanted to be kind of the kind of person that sits out on their back porch and drinks coffee in the morning. And so they made it a habit for a year. And even if it was 5 minutes in the morning, or if they had more time, it was longer. But sure enough, at the end of the year, they had a nice, cozy place outside. They had made time for themselves. They had adjusted their work schedule around it. They did all these things to where now they had a little bit of self care. So at the end of the day, they didn't feel the need to revenge bedtime procrastination, right? And that's a good baseline example. Another example is a lot of people don't treat their bedrooms like bedrooms. They treat their bedrooms like workspaces or entertainment rooms, or we get things done in there, right? And so this is like a bigger overarching change. But for me, it was like, a lot of times we used to turn the TV on, watch a show, uh, go in there to watch movies. So I took the TV out of my bedroom, right? Like, so now I can't do
Mhm.
those things. I took my extra work desk and my laptop out of my bedroom, so I can't go in there and work, right? And so now I'm programming my brain to be like, oh, when we're in here, we sleep, right? Does that mean I don't do those things sometimes? Like, sometimes I'll stay up late working on my phone, but for the most part, now I've like conditioned my brain to be like, when we go into the bedroom, we're gonna go to bed, right? I've also done some things to help around that, like phones nowadays have nifty settings called nighttime settings where they turn off the blue light after a certain hour. And then I've even taken it one step further. They have a new setting called grayscale, where it just makes your phone so gray and useless. For me, it automatically turns off between 9:30 and 4:30 because that's when I should be sleeping. So I just have to like not look at my phone anymore. I just self set up my phone for that because otherwise I'll just get lost like scrolling, doing something, working, whatever it is. And sometimes I'll be so tired I don't even realize that I'm just zoning out. And that's like a
That's a
weird
big
catch
part
up.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so tired. I'm making myself more tired. Um, and, start to set up those little habits around the sleep to make the sleep more successful. So, less screen time. In a perfect world, you didn't have screen time an hour before bed or an hour after bed. In a perfect world, you went to bed at the same time 7 days a week. In a perfect world, there was a perfect temperature of 68 degrees or whatever it is that you're supposed to sleep in, right? Realistically, if we did one of those things, you'd probably start to have better sleep. If we did two of those things, you'd probably have even better sleep. If you did three of those things, you'd probably even have better sleep. So this is where habit stacking comes in. And that's like a big part of what we're going to talk about today. And if you haven't heard of habit stacking, it's taking a habit you already have and adding another habit to that habit. And so, for example, when I'm adding a new vitamin or a new supplement or something new to my routine, I put it in front of my daily vitamin. So now I have to move the new thing to pull out my daily vitamin. And then I look at the new thing in my hand and I have to think about it for a minute like, why is this new thing in my hand? Because I go into automation mode, right? Being neurodivergent, I have a routine, I have a routine, I have a routine, you know? And sometimes I'll even be like with the new thing and I'll still put it back and like not do the thing. But now that it's in my hand, I'm much more likely to do it. So that's habit stacking. So let's go back to sleep and talk about that. So say you want to go to bed at a certain time every night. Maybe your new habit is turning off all the like, say you already like go to bed and you come home from work and you do the dishes or whatever it is. For me, that's what I do after dinner. We do the dishes, put everything in the dishwasher. I try to run it every night if I can remember. Some nights I'm too tired and I just deal with it in the morning. But if your habit is like coming home, having dinner, and then putting things away, as you're putting things away, turn your phone on to grayscale or change it, open the bedroom window so it starts to cool down the bedroom. Or one new habit where you just like, okay, I'm already doing the nighttime thing. What's the next part of this routine again? And for me, I put sticky notes up. Like I do just stuff at the sink. There's a sticky note, open your window. Like simple things. Like what's the next step? Um, have a reminder on your phone to turn itself off. Turn your phone off. Preset your phone to have an automatic silence or do not disturb at a certain time. It's little steps like that to kind of add to your habit. I also take like some vitamins right before bed. I've now started to put the glass of water and my mouth guard in front of those vitamins because sometimes I'll forget those things, right? I sleep with a mouth guard because I grind my teeth because I'm always tense. But like getting that new habit of wearing the mouth guard is like still a challenge. So if I put it in front of the vitamins, which I'm pretty good about taking at night, I'm more likely to put the mouth guard in, right? If I have like for me, I also like nifty little contraptions. I have a little phone stand and I have a little watch stand. I don't know. I like them on my bedside table. And so now it's the routine of like putting them away. I put them away. Now they're also going to charge all night, which is great because I forget to charge things a lot. But now I've got this habit of put things away, put in the mouth guard, take my vitamins, get into bed. So now it's like this kind of built up routine. And each one of those was one step at a time. Like get used to taking vitamins. Okay, now I'm used to that. Put water by your bedside. Okay, now I'm used to that. Get a little watch charger. Okay, now I'm used to that. Put in your mouth guard. Okay, now I'm used to that. It's still like 80% of the time I do all of them. I forgot the mouth guard last night. But like now I've set these up, these routines. It also starts to trigger my brain to be like, it's sleeping time. We're getting ready for sleep. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
turn everything off and go to bed. Right. Um, and for me, a lot of these health journeys, like I said, took years to develop. I was insomniac forever as a kid. And I joke with people, if you want to be tired, just get up at 5 in the morning and work out for 2 hours. You'll be exhausted by the time you get home. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that though.
Yeah, me neither.
Sorry.
It's okay. I never thought I would either. I'm not a morning person, but somehow I'm in the gym before sunrise. I don't know what happened. I was joking with my friend. She's like, "You are a morning person." I was like, "I'm not a morning person." She's like, "Well, evidence says otherwise." I was like, "It's fair." As soon as I go on vacation, though, I sleep until 11. I don't know what happens. So
So, what
go
do
on.
we do when we get off track like that?
When you get off track like that,
Hmm.
ease yourself back into the routine. Uh, for me, so perfect example, we're talking about vacation. When I go on vacation, I stay up late, I sleep in, I go off track because I don't know, that's my routine from when I was a kid, right? It's the old routine. Uh, I've now given myself an extra day of vacation anytime we do vacation to get back into my routines. I take an extra day off work before I go back to reality of like, okay, I'm home from vacation. Let's give ourselves a full day to kind of reset and get back on track and then move into it. So for me, that's what works. Just because I have to get back in the routine of being in the routine. An extra day. Give yourself grace. The real answer is give yourself grace every chance you get. Don't beat
Yep.
yourself up. Don't get mad at yourself for not being perfect all the time. Because if you were perfect, it would be pretty boring. That's my opinion, right? Uh, we get to learn from challenges, and it's fun. Life is fun when you approach it from that point of view.
Okay, so we've talked about sleep.
Hmm.
Next level up is food. Let's
Hmm.
talk about some habits to build around food and eating and diet. This is hard for us.
It's hard.
We have
Yeah,
so many
a lot of it.
sensory issues and textural issues, and I won't eat that issues. And yeah,
Yeah, and those are all totally valid. And like, I struggle with this with my kid all the time. He will eat the same thing 3 meals a day for a month and then never again. And I swear, he waits till I buy it in bulk. I'm like, okay, he's eating this thing again. I'm gonna buy a bunch of it, and then he's like, I'm never eating that again,
yep.
ever. I'm like, wow. Like, I'm happy he's eating. I don't argue with him, but it's like so frustrating. Um, and so, what do you do about that? So, a lot of times, habits around food started in childhood, and that's kind of where I start with most people. For me, and for a lot of people I talk to, scarcity and poverty drove our eating habits. Finish your plate, eat everything in front of you. You have to eat this. Uh, and that created this really bad habit that allowed me to get 100 pounds overweight, right? Because I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from growing up. And so I would eat everything in sight. And I distinctly remember going to friends' parents' house or friends' houses and eating, and their parents being like, "Are you okay at home? Because you just ate everything before we even finished serving the table." And not realizing that till I was an adult, right? And that's kind of where we start, is like, where's your eating habits now? So again, with any habit, get a baseline, get consistent 7 days a week, focus on just the basics. And that doesn't mean change how you eat immediately. That means wait 2 weeks, look at your habits, be like, okay, this is what I tend to do. I have a big presentation every Wednesday or report due. I'm really stressed out. I overeat Wednesday night. Thursday, I feel bad about it. I starve myself till dinner, and then I get takeout because I'm so stressed out because I haven't dealt with any of that. Friday, I try to correct it and I eat a big salad and I eat healthy and I'm great and I feel good about myself. Saturday comes and we order takeout and I forget everything. And then Monday, I start the cycle again. Right. That's like a pretty common thing that a lot of people deal with, is like the emotional aspect of food. Like, I don't feel good. I'm going to eat. I feel great. I'm going to eat. I had a bad day. I'm going to eat. Let's celebrate. Let's eat. Right. Like, so, and how do you bridge that gap between foods that align with your goals and foods that may not align with your goals? I don't like the terms healthy or unhealthy foods. I don't like the terms good or bad food. I don't like any of those terms because you're setting up a weird context around food. You have to eat. You have to eat every day for the most part. And you have to eat food that fuels you. The definition of a healthy diet is having enough energy to complete your tasks throughout the day. That's the definition of a healthy diet. Now, will you feel great eating Twinkies all day? I don't know. Probably not. Can you lose weight predictably, according to the study done by the professor of nutrition at Arizona State, eating just Twinkies and Ho-Hos for 6 months and a vitamin supplement? Yeah, he lost weight predictably out of spite. I love this study. He was like a professor that ate Twinkies with his lunch, and people give him a hard time because he was a professor of nutrition. So out of spite, he created an entire experiment where he just ate that for 6 months and lost weight predictably. Sure, he felt horrible, but he did it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that goes to show you that healthy, unhealthy, whatever is irrelevant. There's nutritious food, and then there's more nutritious food. That's how food works. Hey,
Ooh.
and that's the way I like to think of it, right? Is there nutrition in cake and ice cream? Yeah. Is there more nutrition in strawberries and bananas? Yeah. Like, it's not massive, crazy rocket science, right? Like, most of us understand the concepts about food. The thing is, we have weird habits around it. Now, a lot of times people come to me because their doctor said it's time, you need to change something. You're now going to have medical issues. You're starting to be pre-diabetic. You have high cholesterol. You have some real issues, right? And that's like the, oh no, I should have done something 20 years ago. I feel bad about it. What do I do? The first thing you do is don't beat yourself up. The next thing you do is start being real with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself about your habits if you're going to change them. Uh, I like to say the best thing you can do is take responsibility for all your actions. It's a hard pill to swallow at first. It's like, oh, My actions have led me to where I am. That's hard. On the flip side, you're no longer giving your power up to anybody else or any other institution or any
Mm-hmm.
food or anything over you. You now can control the direction you're going. So accept that the habits and actions that you have led you to where you are. Be willing to be open minded and know that change is the outcome, right? It's the, what is it? Is it when the fear of change, or when the pain of staying the same is greater than your fear of change, you will surely change, right? So this is going to apply to all habits, but especially food. So you have to eat every day. Most of the time, you should eat whole foods, right? There's a weird misconception about the current marketing trend with nutrition, and it really drives me crazy as a nutritionist to see all these people online and people saying, don't eat this, only eat that, you have to do this way is the right way, this diet's the best diet, that diet's the one that works, oh, if you only ate this way, it would regulate all your hormones and all your problems would be fixed. um, if any of that was true, everyone would be in shape and eat great, and that would just be the standard diet.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I like to talk about eating whole foods. Whole foods are foods that don't have an ingredient list. Broccoli, chicken, carrots, eggs, strawberries. Those things don't have ingredient lists because that's just what they are. 80% of the time, focus on whole foods. 20% of the time, have a meal with your friends and family and enjoy it and don't feel guilty about it. You'll probably start getting towards your goal much quicker, as opposed to being a crazy restrictive diet that you saw on Instagram that worked for one other person, uh, or maybe even a close friend, or maybe you even had some success on it for a while, but ultimately wasn't sustainable because I like carbs. How could you not eat carbs for the rest of your life? I would go crazy. Just say one
Mm-hmm.
diet. And that's not saying keto doesn't work. It's a great diet. Um, but look at food objectively. And that's like how we start around changing our habits around food. Then we start journaling about food. I'm a big fan of an emotional journal around food. How do you feel when you eat your breakfast? How do you feel when you eat your lunch? How do you feel when you have a pint of ice cream at 9 p.m.? Right? Like, where are these emotions coming from? That's how we start to tackle like the real sustainable changes, not never eat sugar again. I like sugar. I don't eat it very much anymore, but I like sugar. Uh, and then once you start to look at those feelings, where do those feelings come from? For me, uh, it was insecurity, not feeling good enough and not feeling secure in my home life growing up as a child. So I filled that hole with lots of other things: video games, books, routines. For me, it was, drugs and alcohol for a long time until I got sober.
I was just
Then it
about
was
to say, you're not
food.
mentioning the fun stuff, sex,
Oh, yeah.
drugs, rock and
Yeah, yeah.
roll. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Drugs and alcohol for a long time. Then it was food. After I got sober about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was food. And then I gained 100 pounds. I got 260 pounds at 5'9". Like, it was well over his weight, and then it was business, and then it was sex, right? Like, all these things are just filling these voids, right? But a lot of times food is that easy one because it's right there. It's in your fridge. It's easy to buy. You can go to a store, and these companies have figured out what's called the bliss point. It's a marketing term for the optimal desire to continue to eat this product over and over and over again. And it's a combination of salts, sugars, and fats. And that reaches the bliss point. Oreos have the perfect bliss point. Ice cream has the perfect bliss point. You know, Protein, even these like new protein bars made by Snickers are like designed with the bliss point in mind. So you keep eating them. Like, that's their job, is to sell you things to keep eating them. And that's fine. That's their marketing. But understand that marketing. Understand that everything in a package is designed to make you buy more of that package. We
Yes.
wouldn't have to subsidize vegetables and corn if they were marketed right. So this is a bigger overarching topic, right? Like, now we start talking about emotions and childhood, and you're like, wait, I thought I just wanted to change my eating habits. Like, yeah, this is part of it. This is part of it. We got to dig a little bit deeper. And I think that's the bigger problem about it, is people just want to change these surface things. Like, I'm just going to change my diet and my life will be better. You probably should do some self work. Most people should probably do some self work. You probably should never stop doing self work, because that's the benefit of being self aware, is, oh, we can work on ourselves. And then if you have the fucking benefit of being having children, you get to watch it in real time. Like, oh, they're picking up my bad behaviors immediately. I should probably work on that, right? And then you try to change your children's behavior without changing your behavior. Way harder, way harder.
That doesn't work. That doesn't
No,
work.
no, they just look at you and roll their eyes. They're like, all right. Uh, Living by example, it's hard. So we talked about my why and being an active dad in the last episode, but now I get to be an active dad. Now I get to work out with my kid. I sent him to a sleepover the other night. His first sleepover, it went well. But the parents were like, what's his favorite kind of ice cream? Does he like lemonade? And like all these other sugary things. And I was like, I actually don't know the answer to those questions. And good luck feeding my child a bunch of sugar. And they're like, he didn't fall asleep till like 11. And I was like, yeah, you fed him a bunch of sugar. But they had the flip side of it was they were like, he didn't even finish his ice cream. He only ate like half of it. And he didn't really finish his lemonade. I was like, yeah, it's probably too sweet for him. Like, it's not that I deprive him of sugar. I didn't care that they fed him sugar. We just don't eat it a lot in the house. So he's not used to it. And like that's like the realistic reflection of, living by example. And as a former chef, like I love food. Don't get me wrong. I love food. I make food all day. I have an award-winning mac and cheese recipe, caramelized pear and Gruyere mac and cheese with
Oh
breaded
my
off pancetta
God.
crisps, twice baked with a Parmesan panko crust. And I flambe
Oh
the
my,
Asian pears. I use Asian pears and I flambe it in a little apple brandy so it has a nice bite to it. Yeah, it's award winning. I have trophies for it. Do I eat it regularly? No, man. It's so rich. It like puts people to
yeah,
sleep. Yeah. Um, do I make it once a year for my wife when she bugs me? Like, yeah, of course I do. Right. But
yeah.
before it was like a once a month thing. I was like, let's make mac and cheese and then feel disgusting and eat half a tray and lay there and just be like, I ate too much and then keep eating. Right. um, so you should eat good food. You should just learn to have habits around it. You should eat good food when the holidays call for it. I tend to make those things around holiday events and like, big days when once a year people are all gathered and that's the day we're going to eat. And then how do you tackle those kind of habits? Like, that kind of eating habits where you're going to have a big meal. For me, I just get up early in the morning, do a little bit extra walking. I maybe skip breakfast or eat a light lunch. And then after having a large dinner, try to get on extra walking or some extra movement and kind of like, not to like, oh, I have to move so because I ate a bunch, just so I don't feel so bloated and like lethargic. I just want to move a little bit more after eating a big meal. It's in Asian culture traditional to walk for 10 minutes after dinner because that helps according to them, helps the inner fire stay burning. Uh, and so like that's something that we should all do. We should probably just move a little bit more. So I've kind of gone on this long tangent about
No,
habits
you've
around
gotten us
food.
right to where we need to be. We're
Yeah,
supposed to move a little bit more.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Let's talk
yeah.
about that.
So when I say movement, people immediately think of a gym and sweating and working out hard, and you have to run to be an athlete. I hear that all the time. Like, do I gotta run to be an athlete? Like, no, I hate running. Do I see if I can still run once every 6 months? Yeah, that's it. Usually when I go to my in-laws' house, I'm like, I'm gonna leave and run. And I go run a 5K or something dumb. And I come home and I'm like, still got it. Done. Not gonna run the rest of the year. Right? But I have the capability to run, and that's what's really important. I have the capability to move. I have the capability to touch my toes. I have the capability to bend down. Um, I have the capability to pick up my kid. It was actually a really fun interaction we had recently. I was like, "You're getting big, man. I'm not going to be able to keep picking you up." And he stopped me. He pushed me back. He said, "No, no, 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 Daddy. You're going to keep going to the gym and get bigger muscles." And I was like, "All
Told
right,
you.
I see you." Yeah, I was like, "All right, I see you. I heard you. I heard you, right?" And then like the other morning, he was looking for me because I was at the gym, and he was like, "Where were you? I was looking everywhere for you." I was like, "Remember when you told me I need to get more muscles?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I was doing that." He was like, "Good, good job." He patted me and then walked away. I was like, "All right." So that being said, we should raise our heart rate 30 minutes a day every day. There was a huge study done in China with something crazy like 10 or 20,000 subjects over like a 10-year period, like a huge study. and it basically recorded people's movement habits and their and their like likelihood of living and their mortality rates, heart disease, cancer, all these big questions, right? And basically, people that moved and rose their heart rate 30 to 40 minutes a day lived 10 to 15 years longer. That's simple. Every rate of death went down by about 50%. Heart disease, cancer, all the big ones like the other ones, respiratory issues, all those things drop by like 50% just by moving 30, 40 minutes a day and getting your heart rate up 30 or 40 minutes a day. Now, what's the easiest, most accessible way to do that? Walk. Open your front door, walk around the block, come home. That is the easiestly, most accessible, cheapest, best way to get movement in. Even if you can't make the full 30 minutes at first, so you have some like issues, start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes. That is just the best way to start. Now, say you don't want to walk around your neighborhood, say you have a bad neighborhood. Put on some dance music, have a dance party with yourself. Nobody's watching. It doesn't even have to be hard. You can just do this for 20 or 30 minutes. I don't know if you've ever been to like a nightclub or a rave. There's always like at least one or two older people in the Bay Area. It's always like one or two older Asian couple or one or two like old white man with a beard. And they do the same dance move for like 2 hours. It's just, right? That's their exercise. Simple, easy, sustainable. You ask them their age at something crazy like 80, and they're like, yeah, I'm fine. Like those are the kind of people I look up to, right? Like they figured out a way that feels good and feels like movement. Resistance training is really great for your muscles. Muscles are really great for losing fat. Long term, if you want to lose weight, get some muscle because muscles burn calories. That's a simple fact. Now, does everyone have to go to a gym and lift weights and like, go at 5 a.m. and train 7 days a week for 2 hours? Like, no, I don't even do that. I do competitive bodybuilding and I train for like an hour a day most days. Like nothing crazy, right? I also get some walking in every day. I try to get 10 to 12,000 steps minimum. Now, I don't necessarily work at a desk all day, so I can move a little bit more. But easy way to do it is say on your lunch break. So say you have a habit of going to work and on your lunch break, you stare at your phone or zone out or do whatever it is. If you're not taking breaks, take your breaks. Don't do what I did for many years and never take breaks. As a chef, I never took a break. I would just get overtime, work longer, do all that. Of course, I had a ton of unhealthy habits around that. Now I take breaks. I take breaks as soon as I can, full use of them. So say you take your break at lunch, walk around the parking lot, walk around the neighborhood, walk back and forth in the hallway. Don't care if you look weird. Do you want to die 15 years earlier? Or do you want to maybe be judged by the person next to the water cooler? I would rather be judged by the person next to the water cooler, right? And these are real numbers. These are real numbers with like 10 to 20,000 subjects. Like moving less equals dying sooner. That's crazy. The next statistic I'll tell you really messes people up. The number one cause of cancer in the US is diet. It outpaces tobacco by about 30%.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Say more. What kind of diet?
The average American diet is 60% processed food, 30% animal proteins and fats, 10% fruits and vegetables. That's the average American diet. And that's rough, right? And that's how I ate for many years, for most of my adult life, up until I was 30. That's exactly how I ate. Processed foods, takeout. Even as a chef, I was like, I would work 12, 14 hours. At the end of the day, I'd be like, well, we didn't serve all the dessert. I guess I'm eating cheesecake by the handful over a trash can for dinner. Literally multiple nights, right? And then, you wonder why you get out of breath easy. You wonder why your joints hurt. You wonder why your stomach's inflamed. And when you look at these statistics, it's rough, right? How do we like bridge that gap again, right? We just take some accountability. The first thing you can do is take some accountability. If you're in a store and the labeling has cartoons or anything like that on the labeling, it's either pandering to your nostalgia or pandering to your children. And neither one of those are probably going to help you reach your goals. Does that mean never eat Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch ever in your life? Like, no. Once a year or twice a year, I will eat those things. I love them. They're great. I miss them. But I can't eat them every day for breakfast. I can't eat them every day for dinner when I'm tired, like getting home from work after a long shift, be like, I'll just eat 4 bowls of cereal. That seems relatively healthy. To see you laughing because it's probably happened, right? Um, it behooves the companies for you to buy more of them, and that's what they do. That's their job, to sell you more stuff, and that's okay. So when you go grocery shopping, little pro tip: just shop the perimeter. That's where all the Whole Foods are. Any grocery store, how it's laid out. All the Whole Foods are on the perimeter. Meats, vegetables, fruits, all this stuff's on the perimeter. Every aisle is specifically designed to sell you stuff as you walk down the aisle. They've done millions of dollars of research of how to put stuff at the end of the aisle to get you to walk into it. How to like best time when you're actually going to look, and which companies fight over positioning in the aisle because they know which spot is the most likely to buy from. How to organize it by color so you'd be like, ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. Right? How to put stuff at the end when you're checking out with your kids. Your kids like at eye height. I want this candy that's at eye height. Like they do all that marketing for millions and millions of dollars to figure out how to sell to you because that's their job. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. That's not for me to decide. It's a fact. Um,
We have other shows for that.
yeah, we have other shows for that. Yeah. So back to movement. How do we get some more movement in our life? Lunch break walks. 3 little easy tips I do. Park far away from any store you're going to shop in. Park at the far end of the parking lot. Now you have to walk a little farther every time. It's simple. Just park far away. Might have to walk a little farther. Might be a little inconveniencing the first time. Sometimes it sucks if it's raining. I don't know. Get a daily habit of moving. Is it in the morning? Do you have time in the morning to move for 5 minutes? Do you have time in the evening to move for 5 minutes? Do you have time on your lunch break to move for 5 minutes? Start there. Build from it. Make time in your day, or your body will make time for you through injury or sickness.
That's fact.
Uh-huh. And then 3, tell somebody what you're doing. Tell your friend, I got to move more. They'll probably call you out on it. If they're a good friend, they'll call you out on it. If they're a better friend, they'll show up and move with you. If they're a great friend, they'll join the challenge and do the same thing, right? If you don't have those kind of people, just reach out to strangers. Tell strangers your goals. I like doing that. People ask, how are you doing today? I'm like, I'm working on building a new movement pattern. And they'll look at me weird and I'll be like, whatever, I said it. Sometimes these people will see me in the store again, like I work across the street from like a grocery store. They'll be like, how's that movement habit going? You know? Or like I was doing laps around the parking lot the other day and one of the workers was like, what are you doing? And I was like, getting my steps in. And they're like, and I saw them like a week later. They're like, still getting your steps in? I was like, yeah, of course. I was doing it because it was raining and they had a covering. So I didn't know how else to get my steps in. But, you might inspire somebody too. You never know. So those are 3 steps. Park far away. Start adding 5 minutes a day. Tell random people or people you know your new goals. That's how you get more movement in every day. Now, if you want to extrapolate past that, that's the beginning of the habit. Extrapolate past that. Find something you love. I love dancing. I go dancing a couple times a month. I make time for it. I wear exercise clothes when I go out because I know I'm going to dance, right? Stretch clothes. Me and my kid do dance parties. Apparently Minecraft raps are a thing. He has like a 30-minute compilation of Minecraft raps that he wants to have dance parties to. And I indulge in it. When he says, can we have a dance party? I try to stop working if I can and do it. Cool, sure. Let's do that habit. Keep it simple, keep it moving. Maybe you like kayaking. Maybe you like hiking. Whatever it is you like, do more of that because life is short. Do what you like. It's a really great way to get movement in. Personally, I like going to the gym. I never thought I'd be that person. I never was that person, but I like going to the gym. And again, it's that habit. If I go 2 days without going to the gym, I feel weird. I'm so used to the habit. I'm like, what is wrong? I got to work out. And I go to the gym at the same time every day so routinely that if I'm gone for 2 days, people I go to the gym with that I don't even really actually know their name, but I have enough conversations with them because I talk to them and tell them my goals. They're like, "Hey, where were you on Tuesday?" And I was like, "Oh, I was on vacation or I was sick." They check in and check in with people too. You know, you want to live, you know, how do you say the golden rule? Do unto others as you do unto yourself or whatever it is, right? Be the example of what you want to be. If you want people to check in on you, you should probably check in on them. If you want people to hold you accountable, you should probably hold them accountable. If you want people in your life, say you think your spouse needs to be healthier, you don't tell them to be healthier. You be healthier. And then they'll follow. That's the more likely answer. A lot of times it's really easy for us to do things for other people and not for ourselves. We spent our entire life not making ourselves a priority. And so now when we tell ourselves, hey, you got to make yourself a priority, it's really hard because we've never done that. We've been people pleasers or we've been, trying to, not rock the boat. But if I tell you, you got to take care of your spouse, like your spouse is having issues and you got to take care of them, or someone's in danger that you care about, I guarantee you're probably going to step up and take care of that, right? So let's take that step backwards. If you're willing to do something for somebody else, how do you convince yourself that this habit you're doing for yourself is for somebody else? You know, people say like, I would do anything for my kid. Have you tried living? Have you tried living for your kid? Have you tried being there in the long run? Oh, I know that hurt. That would hurt me. Have you tried showing up, right? Say you want to be healthy and be there for your spouse as you age, right? That's a real good way to convince yourself to do a new habit. Like, well, I've got to be here to take care of them when we're 80. Someone's got to do it. Maybe I'll do it for them, right? And I always hear this old adage like, "Oh, you got to do it for yourself. You can't do it for somebody else." Like, whatever, man, get started. Whatever gets the habit started. Who cares what gets the habit started? You know, I wanted to be an active dad. Objectively, that sounds like I'm doing something for my kid, but really, it was filling that hole that I had from never having a father. So now I get to be an active dad. I get to show up as a father, right? Did it on the outside look like I was doing it for him? Yeah. After a couple of years of looking at it, I was like, no, I was doing this for me. I was like taking care of that kid that never got taken care of, right? So now I get to live and show up and be healthy and be active and eat mostly right and live by example, right? When I show people my before picture, they are blown away. I look older 10 years ago, overhanging gut, double chin, like, ugh. I don't even look at that. I was like, every picture of me is like from the side because I didn't feel good. My posture was like this because I wasn't confident, right? Now I'm none of those things. And it didn't happen overnight. Like it took years of like work and continual work. And I still journal around emotions around eating. And I still take track and I still reach out to people. And I still have to make time in my day every day. It doesn't get magically better. It doesn't get magically easier. You get better at doing the things. Life doesn't get easier. You get better, right? Does that mean that insecurity about like not feeling good enough doesn't rise up? No, it rises up all the time. It rose up this morning. What I do? I wrote about it. I called somebody. I talked it through. I got past it. Went on to give a presentation about emotional eating, right? Like that was my earlier morning when I was emotionally eating in the morning before the gym, right? Like it's like, how do we get past these things, right? How do you not beat yourself up? We have family dinner every Tuesday night at the house, friends and family. They had like, I'm on a diet getting ready for a competition. They're eating potato chips and all those other things. I ate some. I felt guilty about it. I felt bad about it. Even though I tracked it and like put it in my spreadsheet, did I still not feel guilty about it? Yeah, of course I did. Did I still not like be like, oh no, what do I do? Of course I did, right? Did that time period of being stressed and feeling guilty about it get shorter because I've done it so many times? Yeah, that's the goal. Not that does it ever go away. No one's gonna be perfect, but are we able to bridge that gap? So, habit stacking, sleeping, eating, moving, they're all attached. Childhood, they're all attached. Everything's all attached. That's the benefit of this amazing vessel. This mind is inside your body. They are the same thing. As much as we want to disconnect and be very cerebral and intellectual, it doesn't matter if you're not taking care of the vessel that holds the thing inside of it.
Ouch again, Ryan. And I think this is key here, that so much of what we think of as habit building is actually just reparenting ourselves.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the best part. You get to be the things that you always wanted as a child, right? We're going to like a festival in a couple weeks, right? We're burners. We go to Burning Man. We do all this like Burning Man regionals, right? My kid's been going to this one called Unscrews with us ever since he was a baby, and he's excited about it. I get to dress up weird and be that weird person I wanted to be, and I get to buy clothes that fit because now I'm at a size where there's an average of clothes that fit really well, right? When I was heavier, I didn't get to buy as many fun things because they didn't fit as well, right? So now I get to live that childhood. I'm going my aesthetic this year is anime villain. I've got like masks and hoods and like shoulder pieces and like shoes to match. Got my kid a matching outfit. We're gonna run around, be ninjas in the park. You get to do these fun things, right? Because I'm reparenting myself. Like, no, I want to live this kind of life. So how do I get there? I be active, I be fit, you know, reward myself, right? Another way you can kind of build new habits is reward system. I know a lot of us have like, gold star, you know, praise things or like, oh, gold star. So for me, it's like, say you want to eat better for the next 90 days. Write yourself a little goal. Like, if I eat better 90% of the time for the next 90 days, I will buy myself a new outfit. Really easy to do, right? Then the trick is to not buy yourself the new outfit if you don't do the things. This is where telling people about it helps. Telling people about it, writing it down, putting it on a board, telling your spouse, hey, I'm not going to buy any new outfits until I hit this goal of eating better. And this is also how we reframe habits. It's not lose 20 pounds in 20 days or in the next 60 days or your money back or whatever dumb shit it is. It's, hey, let's eat right 80 or 90% of the time. And what does eating right mean? Something that aligns with your goals, right? That's a much easier habit to build than lose 20 pounds in 90 days. Because if you don't hit the 20-pound goal, you get mad at yourself. You beat yourself up. You overeat to response. You say, oh, so I'm not good enough, right? And then you start the same cyclical habit of like not feeling good enough, not feeling great about yourself, stressing yourself out, probably missing sleep because you're stressed out. Now you're tired. Now you're overeating. Now you're skipping your workout routine because that's less important than trying to get more sleep. Now you start this habit again that you spiral down. Next thing you know, it's been 20 years and it's hard to move and your knees hurt and you gain those 20, 30 pounds again. And you started this habit over and over again. And now you're even more mad at yourself because you're like, I know better. I'm smarter than this. When does that ever help? If you were smarter than this, like they always told us growing up in our gifted classes or whatever, like if you just applied yourself, you'd do so good. Like, the fuck does that mean?
Ah,
Like,
yes. Hmm.
if I could apply myself, I wouldn't be here. Like, can't tell you how many times I heard that. And I would see them saying it about my kid. Like I was in my IEP, and they're like, if he just focused and applied himself, he'd be so smart. He's like 3 grades above intellectually, but he just doesn't want to do the work. And I was like, yeah, he's autistic. This is literally what we're having an IEP meeting about. I don't know what to tell you, but I do the same things. I dropped out because you guys annoyed me. And so it's not about like if we just applied ourselves. It's about what if we made our habits less attached to the end goal and more attached to the actual habit. Let's start eating right. Let's, you know, not have a pint of ice cream every night after dinner. Let's have it once in a while, you know? And maybe your habit isn't no more desserts. Maybe your habit is I buy single portion desserts that are this big, individually wrapped, so I eat one of them a night instead of 7 of them a night. And that's a great habit. you know Maybe your habit has just shifted a little bit. For me, it was switching to I liked bananas with peanut butter. That was my dessert transition. I was like, I'll just have a banana with peanut butter for dinner or for dessert because that's more nutritious than the ice cream that's designed to make you eat the whole pint. That's $8. That tastes amazing with little bites in it and whatever it is. That they put the little bites at the bottom so you have to eat the whole thing. Like, I don't know. That's Tell me that's not marketing, man. I can't even remember the brand, but it has like the toffee at
It's
the
it's
bottom.
it's the best marketing.
Yeah,
The
it's
best
amazing.
marketing.
Yeah, and a
Hmm.
couple times a year, I still eat it. Like a couple times a year, I buy 2 pints of ice cream and eat them both, and then feel sick, and then tell myself I won't do it again for 6 months. And it's like once every 6 months I do that. What I tell myself is I'm just gonna have a couple bites of each because I gotta try both because it's been so long, and then I eat both, and then I feel sick. It's pretty habitual.
Listen, Cherry Garcia every 6 months or so.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So I don't eat dairy anymore. And man, did they kill me? Their non-dairy ice cream is so close you couldn't tell. Like their
I know.
non-dairy Cherry Garcia is amazing.
I know.
Well, I really
I
like
know.
the Tonight Show one with the like pretzel pieces in it. Like, oh man, I can't stop. I just can't stop. I'm putting it away. I'm like trying to put it in the freezer. Like, just want more. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get it. But it used to be like a nightly occurrence. So winning. What do I do now? I tend to eat fruit. I tend to eat like now I've switched to like a rice cracker with a little bit of peanut butter on it because I still get that little peanut butter and fat and it helps me sleep. And now we're gonna start talking about the nutrition side. Fats are good for you. They regulate hormones. Melatonin is a sleep hormone. You crave fats before bed to help you sleep. It's not unheard of. That's a lot of times why we get cravings is because we just want a little bit more fat before bed to help regulate hormones. And that's okay. That's also why when you're stressed
Yeah,
out, you want
and
to
the
be.
more that we understand these urges, right, the more
Mhm.
we understand these urges, the more we just give ourselves better options.
Yeah. Or just have grace for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm just stressed out and tired. So I'm overindulging a little bit. Cool. I'll learn from this lesson. And next time I'll do a little bit better. And next time I'll do a little bit better. That's all you ask for yourself. So, what's the number one way to work on changing your habits? What would you think it is?
Ask that again.
What's the number one thing you can do to start building new habits?
The number one thing that I can start doing to build new habits.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Decide.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Choose. For
yeah.
me,
That's a good
that's what it's
start.
about.
Yeah. I like to tell people it's to build self confidence, right? If we have confidence in ourselves, we're much more
Mm.
likely to change. So, how do you build confidence in yourself? Super simple. It's a big issue, but it's super simple. I always say the best way to build self confidence is to keep your promises with yourself, and that's how it is. That's how it starts. It starts small. For me, building confidence was having a to do list that had 3 items on it: make your bed, brush your teeth, go to work. Make your bed, brush your teeth, go to work. Start so small that you can't fail and prove to yourself that you can succeed at these things. Do that for a few weeks. Keep it simple. Do that for a few weeks. Then you add that new habit. You're like, okay, I can tackle these things successfully over and over again. I've proven to myself I can keep my word with myself. Let's add another layer. Make your bed, brush your teeth, go to work, walk 5 minutes. Do that for like a month. Next thing you know, you're probably walking more than 5 minutes, right? And you're like, hey, I can actually do these things. Maybe then it's like go kayaking once a week or whatever it is, or go dancing once a week, or meal prep on Sunday. Does that mean meal prep perfectly? Like, no. Does that mean maybe your idea of meal prep is putting individual pizza slices in a container? Sure. Whatever builds the habit, right? Like, is it ideal? I don't know. That doesn't matter to me. Is it the habit of meal prepping? Yeah, man. I always like to tell people this when they talk about meal prepping. The average takeout meal in America right now is $28. The average fast food meal is $14. So even if you're going thrifty and going to the fast food, it's $14 per person. The average meal prepped meal is about $4.30. So if you meal prep for no other reason than to save a few $100s a month, if not a week, you should probably do that. Then you probably have some money for like a gym membership and some gym equipment or a new kayaking boat or whatever it is that you want to save money towards, like a vacation. I guarantee if you took the money that you were going to eat out with and put it in a jar and then went on vacation once a year, that's a great motivator to be like, I'll just meal prep so I can go on vacation. Cool. Now you've convinced yourself a new habit, right? You have a goal in mind, you have an end goal. You know, if you just meal prep more and eat out less, you'll reach that goal. And chances are you'll probably lose a few pounds in the process on the way to your vacation because restaurant meals, again, are designed to make you order them again and again because that's their job. As a chef who worked in restaurants for many years, we make things taste amazing so you come back. We love regulars so you come back, right? So we tackled a bunch of stuff: habit stacking, health pyramid,
Yes.
look at small wins, build that self confidence with little tiny wins, work on that, identify where these urges come and these childhood behaviors that rear their head, realize that the eating habits are the end result and like the victim, the culprit is really your belief structure. Tackle way back there, think about it, own your power. That's the biggest part. Own your power. Accept that everything is your responsibility and that you are the result of your actions and behaviors. And so now you get to change the course if you want to.
So next time, we're talking about community support, which is a big deal because for a lot of us, these actions don't happen in isolation, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times that's hard to get community support, especially for us neurodivergent people, because we're like, well, you don't understand how I think. When chances are, if you looked at your friend group, they're probably all a little neurodivergent. I know that once my son got his diagnosis, I would my mom was talking to me and she's like, I don't know where you guys get it from. And I was like, you should talk to your doctor. She came to me like a month ago. She was like, yeah, so I just got a diagnosis. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly where it came from. Right. And I had another friend be like, your kid's not autistic. That's messed up. He doesn't need labels. And I was like, no, I'm autistic. You're autistic. He's autistic. Aren't you like the weird one who's always been a loner and like had weird habits and like likes to obsess and change careers every year and a half and like find new things to obsess about? And she was like, oh. I was like, don't you hate that feeling of socks? I see you. You don't like that brand of socks is the way it feels. And she was like, stop getting in my head. And I was like, yeah. Now it's really easy to like we joke about it. You know, we just send me memes
Mhm.
of like when the fabric doesn't feel right, or when the socks changes weird, or when the food is gooey. Like, man, I don't like any of those things. I don't like. It took me forever to get used to people touching my face. It's broken a bit now that I have a kid, but like I didn't like people touching my face. Like, don't touch my face. Even my wife was like, don't touch my face. I don't like it. Breaking those habits. I'm learning. Doesn't mean internally I don't go, but you probably have people in your support group that you can reach out to. And we'll talk a lot about that next time.
I'm really looking forward to it. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. You can find more information about Ryan in the show notes. And if you are not a subscriber, please check us out. It's the neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. We would love to have you join us. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.